Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Tomorrow's Ummah podcast. My name is Ali, your host, and today I'm joined by my dear brothers, Dr. Abdullah Al-Qadri. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.
And brother Zaid. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Very nice having you guys today. We have a very, very interesting topic that we selected to discuss today. It's something that I think people have a difficult time having a conversation about, and that is the idea of extremism. And obviously in our context, extremism in Islam, or what even is extremism, how that sort of fits into a picture of how people may perceive us as Muslims.
I mean, I don't think you can deny there's extremism. For example, there's hot dog eating contests where people eat 100 hot dogs. I think that's a bit extreme. A couple of years ago, I forget which state, I think it was California, there was a water drinking contest. And a mother of 3 actually passed away drinking water on the stage.
Whoa.
I think that's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
I think that a mother's love for her child, extreme. I think if you're talking about Romeo and Juliet, extreme. So I think that extreme narrative, this extreme almost stereotype exists and has existed throughout culture.
Now we're talking about faith.
Now, yeah, so if you want to kind of relay this back to faith and our religion of Islam, unfortunately, I think that Islam gets the butt or the extreme end of extremism. Mainly because the perception of the West is extreme, if that makes sense.
The perception of Islam in the West.
In the West is extreme. And so they associate a lot of negativity with Islam. So let's say out of 100% of Muslims, there's 2 billion of us, by the way, if you count both the Shia and the Sunni sects, maybe 1% of them are doing the acts that none of us condone, that we say is unbelievably un-Islamic, has nothing to do with Islam.
Yeah, I actually have a stat on that.
Go for it.
It's, if you count the extremist groups, right? So population, let's say 1.9 billion, 2 billion, as of 2024, this is the status. They come up to approximately 0.03%.
There you go. But if you go up to even the prime president of America, his narrative is Islam hates us. Who's us? But I'm not going to get into that.
You know, I pulled out the video.
You have the video? Yeah,
I have the video.
Share the video.
It's actually very interesting. I think the production team could probably pull it up, but I'll play the audio out loud.
Yeah.
Do you think Islam is at war with the West?
I think Islam hates us. There's something there that there's a tremendous hatred there. There's a tremendous hatred. We have to get to the bottom of it.
This is CNN.
Let's get to the bottom of it right now.
This is CNN, by the way.
There's an unbelievable hatred of us.
In Islam itself?
You're going to have to figure that out.
Let's figure it out. The best part is he says you'll get another Pulitzer for it. But
see, okay, when he puts it like that, my mind goes to a specific spot, and I guess we can kind of touch upon it. There is certain people, places, madrasa, perhaps even a sect that does take Islam's root to the extreme nature. For example, there is a sect, and a lot of the students that learn from these madrasa, what they grow up with is anybody who isn't a Muslim or anybody who leaves the faith of Islam, that punishment is death. And guess what? We are responsible of giving that death. That's extreme. Anything that they feel is against Islam, and it could be against Islam, zina, drinking wine, etc., they feel like they have the ability to pass on that punishment and carry on that punishment to others. That's extreme. Islam has hudud. Islam has boundaries that are set. And if you follow those boundaries, you realize that Rasulullah and Allah both hated extremism. What's the hadith? Iyakum wal ghuluwa fid din. Extremism is disliked. Extremism, it has no
beware
part
of extremism in religion. For those who came before you were destroyed because of extremism in religion.
There you go. So Islam has no, and if you pull up, I forgot the ayah. It'll come to me, but it's in Surah Baqarah, I believe. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O people of the book, there is no point or there's no room for extremism within Islam."
And thus we have made you a middle moderate community that you will be witnesses
surah
of
is
the
that?
people.
Surah
Surah
Baqarah.
Baqarah 143.
Yeah, there you go.
But I think this might be a different ayah. Because this one is saying that we've made you a middle.
It starts with Ya Ahl al-Kitab, the ayah I'm thinking about.
Oh, that's Surah Maida.
Maida?
Say, O people of the book, do not go to extremes in your religion
you
beyond
go.
the truth, and do not follow the desires of people who went astray
So
before.
not only is Allah tackling Islam, but extremism in people of the book is Judaism,
Surah
Christianity.
Maida, verse 77.
Yeah. So that's to what extent Allah has taken the nature that Islam is moderation. There's no room for extremism around us.
I think it's also interesting that in the ayah, Allah says, don't go to extreme. And then what does he say after?
Beyond the truth, and do not follow the desires of people who went astray before, misled many, and strayed from the right path.
Yeah. So then desire. So what we see two extremes. I think this is mostly in North America. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess, yes, it does exist in back home as well. But in North America, especially the other extreme, we see a lot of it as well. The first extreme is obviously you go too far in being harsh and fighting and you're angry and that kind of extreme. And the other extreme is where you become totally liberal to the point that like rules don't matter.
Everything's good.
Yeah.
Everything works.
Everything passes.
Everything,
Yeah.
okay, just say Bismillah, bro.
Yeah.
Just say,
Well, I
just-
mean, look at it. Look at moderation in Islam to this extent. It even talks about physical extremism. When you eat something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said,
Right.
1 part food, 1 part stomach, water, sorry, and 1 part empty.
Right.
So don't even eat to the extreme.
Right.
But unfortunately, and maybe I'm guilty of this as well, you guys might be as well, the listeners might be as well, we eat to like the end.
Yeah, the brim.
Because we want to get the extreme of desires fulfilled. Same thing in sexual extremism, right? Allah put boundaries. You can't approach your wife during Ramadan, during the period phases. Boundaries are in place to keep that extreme desires that we have in check. In war, hudud, you can't hurt trees. You can't hurt people that go into synagogues or churches. You can't hit priests. You can't hit anyone who doesn't hit you back. You can't hurt women. You can't hurt children. You can't hurt elders. So there's so many hudud and boundaries that are placed that do what you want to do, but keep it within the boundaries and the realm that Allah has set, and guaranteed those boundaries will be the middle path.
and that's sort of, it all comes back to the verse then of Surah Baqarah, right? Which is, thus we, Bismillah, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem, and thus we have made you a middle moderate community that you'll be witnesses over the people, and the messenger will be a witness over you. And then scholars over time have talked about how Islam always encourages the middle course of action, right? The standard practice. And I personally like, you know, when someone goes through a period, like you guys, you know, when you learn fiqh, for example, right? You overburden yourself, because obviously when you come to the knowledge of, for example, performing an action in the Hanafi madhab, if you are sitting after sujood, if all of your toes are not folded on your right foot, then your prayer isn't completed, right? And when I learned that, I was like, what? Like and this is, I think I was reading Ascent to Felicity, Amraqi Sadat. This was like when I was studying the Hanafi fiqh. And I was wondering, I was like, wait, so if I'm sitting, I've completed my sujood, and now I'm reading, you know, I'm doing dua, etc. My right foot, all my toes have to be bent, and the right foot obviously remains rested, or else it's not accepted. Like, that is one of the principles of it. And so then I asked my ustad at the time, like, you know, obviously people can't do that sometimes, that there's exceptions, but isn't that a bit like extreme? Right? And this is where he said, like, that famous narration, Sayyid Bukhari, which is, religion is very easy, and whoever overburdens himself in his religion will not be able to continue in that way. That this is where the concept of doing the best you can, right? Not overburdening oneself. And I think that's, in my eyes, people can see it in different angles, but that's such a relief. You know how people say, like, give me one verse or give me one narration in Islam that gives relief to others? This concept is relief. Islam just tells you, try your best. That's it. Why overburden yourself?
Right.
Like, why bleed, right? And that actually raises the concept of the reason why I'm saying this is the concept of jihad. The reason why I want to say that is because I have people that are in the Catholic community that I'm pretty close with, and I talk to about religion. And so this person, I'm just sitting with them one day and I say, listen, what sort of thing about Islam may confuse you? I asked him, what about Islam? Like, you're a Catholic, you're a very believing Catholic. What about Islam? Do you feel like you have enough? He's like, I respect the religion, but there's one thing that I heard and I know, and I think that I find a bit like weird, right? And he's like, I heard that to be a proper Muslim, you have to commit one big act of jihad in your life. And this is a very serious conversation. So I'm just staring at the dude. I'm like, what? It's like, so what do you think jihad is? He's like, just like one big action. Like, what is one big action? He's like, you just have to do something big. Okay. And this is what he's like, yeah, that's what jihad is, right? You have to do. And so this is actually very interesting because our Shaykh al-Islam, Dr. Muhammad Tariq Qadri, in 2010 released a 600-page fatwa against terrorism, extremism, around the idea, because media was like covering this whole idea of jihad. You go in Western media and like a bunch of Americans are saying jihad this, jihad that. But the concept of jihad is just to struggle. Your daily life is a struggle. And this is where the scholarly opinion comes in based on references, Quran, Hadith. We can get into it, just read the book. But it's just to struggle, go through some form of struggle. Have you ever ran into something about someone talking to you about jihad at any point?
Go for it.
I haven't, honestly.
Oh, I run into it all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all the time. It's not necessarily has to do with jihad, but extremism. There was an individual, and I often share this example. There's an individual that came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we may think of this individual as rude, but anyways, he came up. He says, "O Prophet of Allah, I say the shahada. I will pray only the fard prayers. I will fast and I will give zakah." By this time, Hajj wasn't fard, so we ignore that. And he said, "Is that enough for me?" The Prophet said, "If you continue doing that, that is enough for you." The man left. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "If you wish to see a man of Jannah, look to him. If he adds nothing to it and subtracts nothing from it, he will enter Jannah." Right. That's the basic necessity, the tenets of Islam. We overburden, again, as you were mentioning some ayahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Taha ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa." O Prophet, we did not release the Quran upon you to cause you difficulty, to put you in tribulation. The Quran is a source of a message. It's a source of peace and tranquility for the Muslim. Now, people certainly use the Quran, quote unquote, Surah Tawbah, perhaps the most misinterpreted surah, the misquoted surah in the entire Quran. And they use that to justify their view of extremism. Now, I understand that we're talking about extremism in Islam, but Zaid, what do you feel? Like, I began this conversation with extremism in society as well. Right. What do you feel about that?
Like societal extremism?
Societal extremism.
I mean, I think we live in, like, in general, a very extreme society. Like, I say we live in, as in like North America, Western society. It's not extreme in the sense that like what we think about when we think about extremism, we think about Western society, but it's extreme in the sense that it's not moderate in any way. Like
if women are going to dress, they're not going to dress at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Feminism,
hyper-consumerism.
Yeah, atheism isn't only just I don't believe in God. It's also that, like, I aggressively don't believe in God, and everything I talk about is going to be about anti-God, and you're so stupid for believing in God.
Yeah. How many mass shootings were there in the US in the year 2024? I think I was reading a BBC article. I think it was like 488, if my memory serves me correct. That's 2 mass shootings a day. That's not extreme? That's pretty extreme to me. There's 2 mass shootings every single day, but people don't look at America and think mass shooting.
Okay, that raises the question: what creates, or what nurtures, or what grows extremist ideology?
In Islam or in general?
Let's talk about both.
In general, I think it's what society feeds you. The people eating the hot dogs don't feel like they're doing something extreme. Right? The people in that water drinking contest don't feel like they're in the extreme. They feel like if they win this amount of dollars.
Do you think, and probably let's ask you, like, do you think extremism comes from starting at moderate levels and then being fed slowly extremist ideology, or do you think it's like just ideology that you may not think is extreme and just being fed so much of it? Like, where do you think, okay, in Islam, where does that breed?
Okay, if we look at Islam particularly, I think it starts moderately. Like everyone is like, you know,
What does moderate mean?
moderate as in like not in any extreme. You're
Quran, Sunnah.
you're
madhab.
following with adab. You're following the Quran and the Sunnah, and like the way of the companions as well. Because even in their time there was extremism, right?
And you think there's like some sort of external, what's the external factors here? Is it social media?
There's a
Is
couple. Right now, I would say social media is a big one.
Mhm.
I think some scholars are also like, if like who you look up to is a big thing, because sometimes there are some scholars that actually enable a lot of extreme things. Like for example, let's say 200 years ago. I don't want to use any modern examples. I don't want to say anything about anyone.
Step on any toes.
Yeah. But let's say like 200 years ago, if there's like someone gives a fatwa that you can kill Muslims because they're not actually Muslim. So most Muslims today, they're not following Islam the way it should be. So
is this like, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this like if someone does takfir or like what?
takfir.
And then,
So then
you
let's
you
say
can kill
there's
them?
this takfir of the Muslims. So
And
then
takfir, sorry, just for the audiences, if you say someone is kafir, that's it.
yeah.
Take them out of the fold of Islam.
Yeah, exactly. So then in that case, their blood is halal now.
It's a good way you put it, but yeah.
Right?
And
that's
because
how
of
it
that
was-
fatwa, and because it's like some big imam, people then adopt.
follow it and then they act upon it.
Okay.
Even if, as you said, you mentioned like they're not they're not allowed to take that action. Like they're not a caliphate or anything like that.
I'm glad you touched upon this because I have 4 points here that I think this extremism, and understand that extremism in Islam, the word is ghulu,
Mhm.
which comes from the word ghuluwan, which do you guys know what that is?
Yeah.
Like it boils over.
Yeah.
So like it's a pot like of tea, boiling the water, it boils over. That's ghuluwan. And you get ghulu from there, meaning if the boil was set, you're good. But there are chances that it boils over, you get ghulu extremism from there. I think it's more of a systemic problem in certain areas of the world. And because of how radical they are, they overpower, and you said like 0.003, give them the benefit of the doubt, 0.1%, let's say, of this ideology is being taught. They take things to such an extreme, and then it is so widely broadcasted by the media.
Oh my goodness.
So-
and here's actually like another stat
Yeah.
on how media is utilizing it. Because in reality, like we can say that, it happened this percent of times. But what makes it even worse is how media coverage, overrepresents it or makes it. The University of Alabama did a study and said that terror attacks committed by extremist groups received 357% more U.S. media coverage than those committed by non-Muslim groups.
There you go. So, I mean, if we're going to talk about it, it has to be fair coverage.
I had to write a paper once in like high school. It was just about like how media portrays Islam and
Yeah.
extremism. And dude, it's like, it's so crazy how the words used, just because that person may have been ethnically like, or they identify radically trained, or they may just look Muslim, or they may look Arab, right? The shift in words and the words that are used to describe those people in some instances, it's like,
Yeah, you go from mentally unstable to terrorist.
to terrorists real quick.
I think
And that
also
still happens to this day.
something related to that is like it's kind of like a process of people becoming brainwashed because of these media headlines. So if you go back to early 2000s, even pre 9/11, there's these the media using these kind of words, right? And then slowly we see incidents around the Muslim world where maybe Muslims are being oppressed, and then they're fighting for their freedom. These same terms are going to be used on them, and then people classify it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know why I find that so interesting is because majority of victims of terrorism globally are Muslims.
Right.
Let me play the devil's advocate. Yes, the media overplays it, but there is extremism in our deen. So I'd mention I have 4 points.
Wait. Can you clarify that?
There is no extremism in deen, but people teach extremism
There you go.
to others within deen. And the reason I say that is, listen, I hit on first point. So the first point is that people, what they're taught is if there's any shirk or kufr, that punishment is death, and you're allowed to carry out that punishment. That's point number one.
Like way across the board, or this is like
this is the 0.01% of people.
This is what they're taught.
Unfortunately, this is systemic. A very small percentage in very small regions around the world.
What's an example of committing shirk? Like if someone did
Associating
it.
anything with Allah.
So if someone just said one day like, yo, that was godly.
For those, listen, if we're going to go to the extreme nature of it, I feel like those people would consider that shirk as well.
And it's just head off.
That's what they're doing. Somebody says something against the shan of Rasulullah. We don't believe it. But next thing you know, they have holes in them. Pretty extreme, right? So the point number 2 here is no one other than Muslims can rule. And as soon as the Muslims are in power, we'll overthrow them. Again, that's not right. You don't do that. Islam doesn't teach that. That's not the moderate Islam way. The third point is, in the entire world, there's only one way to rule, the Khilafat. And we will be the Khalifas. So any other sect that comes in and says, this is how we rule, no. We are the Khalifa, not them. And the fourth point here is national sovereignty is kufr.
So like
you're a
saying,
Muslim.
I'm American.
Yeah, or I'm an American
Canadian.
Muslim. No, you're a Muslim. Because you said American Muslim, they're taught that's kufr. So I think, and what we have to do in the podcast, this podcast, Tomorrow's Ummah, what we do and how we're taught, we have to present a counter narrative to all of this. We have to be able to show a love that is so extreme that counteracts the extremism that is being portrayed by the West. Unfortunately, and this is my personal opinion and perspective, people who are moderate tend to also be moderate in their way of expressing Islam. Sometimes you have to go extreme in the way you represent and show Islam.
Our last episode was on da'wah.
Yes.
So the reason why I bring this up is moderate, or let's actually use an even more simplified word, normal. What is normal in the West, right? Like if I work somewhere, is it normal for me to show up in a jubba or a thobe?
Depends on where you work. For example, if let's say I own a business, somebody shows up in a jubba in Canada, shows up in a jubba.
Okay, let's say you're working downtown Toronto, you work for
if you work in a finance company for, let's say, Procter and Gamble, and you show up in a jubba, you're probably getting fired.
Okay, let's forget that. Now let's say you show up in a suit. You go to the side and you pray. Is that normal?
Why do we look at it as not normal?
So that's what I'm raising is like what is moderate, right? Like because extremism on one side, let's put it to one side, which is like, okay, that's violence and like boiling over.
But it's not though. Listen, is there anything wrong with being extremely honest? Is there anything wrong with showing extreme love to Allah? Extreme love to Rasulullah? Is there any reason why a mother can't show extreme love to her son or daughter?
Okay, let me actually use that example.
Yep.
If I'm at work, right, and I end up doing something well, my boss comes to me and is like, good job, Ali, you did good. And you go up to him let's say he's like not even a believer, he's an atheist. He's like, alhamdulillah, it's all thanks to God, all praise to him.
Do you want my personal opinion on
Because
this?
I love Allah subhanahu wa
Do you want my personal
Yes.
opinion, or do you want to go first?
No, go for
No,
it.
give your personal opinion. That's what I'm asking.
My personal opinion on this is very simple.
What?
You don't get to impose your deen on others.
That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Extreme love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it also falls into the idea of not compulsing someone
not
to not bring compulsion into the equation.
I agree with you, but I think you when you're like, maybe you won't say alhamdulillah, it's all thanks to Allah, like to the atheist guy, right? But you'll say like, you'll thank him.
God.
You say and you'll say thank God, like as you mentioned, like that. It's also a part
But
of
is
the
that
da'wah.
verbal affirmation of you thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really da'wah? Or is it just like isn't my da'wah me acting well as a Muslim, me showing and performing, I do my prayers, I perform really well at work. I don't need to go up to a person and say, oh no, it's all thanks to God.
Well, okay, that also depends on your intention, right? Because if you like know that this guy's atheist and you like have like,
let's say we don't even know what he is or she is.
I think if you say thank God, why would that be an extreme thing to do? I think because it's like
I just don't understand how that, and I'm trying to play devil's advocate. It's like I just don't understand how that conversation would go. Let's say your boss just called you one day, you work
Sure.
online, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Zaid, really good job on that report you published the other day. You're like, oh, it's all thanks to God. If you said thank God, it would be like a relief, right? If you reply to the person saying thank God, it means like what? You thought you messed up,
No, okay, that's a good point because
right?
I feel like it's different online for some
So the reason why I'm saying is because extreme love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and extreme love for your faith and deep conviction, it's not verbal affirmations and it's not verbal compulsion to another person. It's in the idea of da'wah, it's you being a good Muslim and it reflecting in your actions of how you perform, of how you do, how kind you are, how gentle you are, especially in this society. If it was a separate society, like a Muslim country, and you may disagree, but
I do disagree. I want you to finish
and I
your
want to
point.
actually hear the other side,
Yeah,
because
I want
like
you to finish your point.
I will go in my office and I will pray in the corner, but I will never pray in the middle of the kitchen,
yeah, for sure.
and I will never show up in a thow, right?
Right.
Like,
I mean,
for
there's a
example,
level of-
let me
there's an
actually
element
give you
of hikmah to
another
this.
example. You and I both lead Jum'ah, right? Maybe you don't have to go into the office on Jum'ah. I don't know.
I do go.
Okay, you do go. I go into the office in Jum'ah. I go to Toronto, and none of my colleagues know I lead Jum'ah, right? And it's right down the street. I disappear for an hour. I come back. They know I go for Friday prayer. They know I read Friday prayer. I leave the office. I go walk down. I read Jum'ah. I lead the prayer, and I come back, right? All they know is that like I dedicate my time on a Friday to pray, right? And they know that when it comes on a daily basis, Zuhr and Asr, I step to the side and I pray. That's all they know about me. Never in a conversation would I say things like, it's all thanks to Allah.
You wouldn't have to.
Right? Like, and so that's what I'm trying to say is that like you said extreme love for Allah. Isn't extreme love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's something that's always on your tongue, something that's always you're speaking about?
Muhabba, love, by definition, if you can control it, isn't love. If you truly have love for someone, it exudes from your body. Example. I've often been caught. I know doctors, and inshallah one of them will be here in one of these episodes, who in front of a non-Muslim, because it's just a part of their routine and habit and love, they'll begin every prick with a needle with Bismillah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not composing anyone. They're not forcing it on anyone, but it's within them.
So like the tech would hear you say Bismillah, or like a resident would hear you say.
I've been guilty of, let's say, somebody saying, we'll schedule this, or I'll talk to you, or the patient comes to me and, you know, your A-line is doing fine, your MRI is doing fine, inshallah. And it's so innate that I don't like. I didn't even realize I did it now.
No, I get it. I hop on calls sometimes and I say assalamu alaikum.
but that fact isn't me being compulsive or forcing it upon others.
Yeah.
It comes from innate. Now, if I'm doing it in a way where, hey guys, let's go pray Jummah together because that's the way to do it.
And that's what I'm trying to like put aside, right?
I think there's a very fine line, and
100%.
I think most rational individuals will be able to diagnose which side you're on. It's very, especially nowadays,
whether it's natural or not.
Yeah, many people are able to diagnose a fake accent.
It's true.
Fake imam.
Fake behaviors, fake smiles, fake
It's
whatever.
very easy to discern that. So I think we don't really have to worry about that. I think that for me, extremism is, and we don't really, I doubt I get to see it on a daily basis. Like in Canada or North America, the reason is we grew up with this society.
But I don't know. I see it. The reason why I see it is because I see people
like on social media or like daily interaction.
No, I've seen it in person where people, what breeds extremism is compensating for not understanding who your identity is, especially in this society.
Right. Is that what you were trying to...
If you're going to go about identity, then I have a couple of comments on that.
And I want to hear it because, like, okay, people here, for you to abandon, okay, I say the word abandon, very roughly speaking, abandon a Western identity to fully adopt a, let's say, a very overexpressive Islamic identity.
You think that's common, though?
I've seen it. I don't want to say it's common, no, but I've interacted with it.
It's common. I think it's common enough that we can see it because I have seen stuff like this.
And I've actually seen it a lot in the UK.
UK is a bit of a longer history of Islam. So
yeah, like a lot of history of Muslims, but that's still the West.
Right.
Give me an example.
Like
you're walking down the street, you see a guy in Eaton Center with a jabban. Would you consider that extreme? I wouldn't.
I don't think that's
extreme. That's a freedom of expression, right?
I don't think it's extreme.
So give me an example.
I think it's more so like, going to school in a jubba or wearing a topi.
I used to wear a topi up to high school.
No. Wearing a jubba.
I really did.
That's great.
Yeah.
I would too on jummas, but like wearing a jubba. Is that extreme? Going up to your teacher saying Assalamu alaikum.
Again, my point on this is if you're going out of your way to make yourself this high moral individual and everyone else is less moral than you because you're wearing a jubba, extreme.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Is that like there is some sort of like when people make an active effort to compensate or like to make it like very clear that I am Muslim, this is my identity, then clearly there is some void that person is trying to fill.
Okay, and my point on this is that that's the extreme point you're picking. That's not the common. That's not the moderation. You will always find individuals who have to compensate either extreme Islam or extreme anti-Islam, but they both identify as Muslim.
That's the topic of the conversation.
We don't look at them. And that's what I think, what I'm trying to get at is they both exist. We recognize their existence. But Islam teaches, let's amalgamate the two. There is a middle way where you can express your deen, but not call yourself an anti-Muslim.
Agreed. And I think we're on the same point.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say that like, that's the point of the conversation is that like, why flip either way? Just choose the middle path.
Yeah.
And if sometimes your Islamic self slips out, it's your true you, right?
Yeah.
I've hopped on calls or on Slack huddles with my customers or with my colleagues, and I've said Alhamdulillah, or like I've said like Assalamu alaikum.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it, and I'll just be like, oh yeah, sorry. Oh yeah, that just means peace to you, like peace be upon you.
Yeah.
And it just slips out. It's just natural.
Yeah. And
Alhamdulillah doesn't mean peace be upon you.
No, I said
Assalamu
alaikum. I said Assalamu alaikum.
Sorry, I missed that.
I think like you mentioned, it's a rare thing, right? That we see people like in either extreme.
I think so.
Yeah. I think in action, you're definitely right. That we don't see a lot of people falling into any extreme. But I think in doctrine, it's something that's become innate to people that we kind of...
If they're taught Islam, 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 Islam. Everyone else is against Islam.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Right.
That's the definition of being indoctrinated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone else against Islam. Everyone else is against this type of Islam too. You know, your type of Islam. So then you become
We are the
And
saviors
that's-
of this religion.
and,
Right.
and
Type of
that's
concept,
why
yeah.
it's
Right.
so necessary. And back to my point, to present a counter narrative that is not what Islam teaches. That's the point of this podcast, right?
Mhm.
right.
Like, hey, Zayd's in, sometimes you show up without a jubba or without a topi.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're still a Muslim.
Yeah, the last time we sat here with Brother Zayd is we talked about the four madhab, right?
No, that was Imam Al-Ghazali when I was
Imam-
here.
when you were here?
Talha was here for the former madhab.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Brother Talha, he's also here. He's in the production team, which is really interesting because that is the beauty of Islam, is that there is diversity in the celebration of the actions of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the revelation of the Quran.
Let me pose a question to you guys, and I think we'll start wrapping up here. How do you get everyone in Islam? Because Islam is a harmonious religion. We believe that. It's a unified religion. Yes?
Yeah.
We can agree on this simple fact. How do you get everyone to agree?
You don't.
I think to a certain level you can't. But
Like,
Explain.
I
What's your opinions on this?
like if we look at the history of the sects that have emerged,
Sect or madhab? Like what?
no sects, like
Okay.
actual sects, like
Brelviism,
no.
Deobandism.
Let's go before.
But
way
you want to
before.
go, okay.
like during the Sahaba, Khawarij,
Okay,
the Qadariyah, Jabariyah,
Okay.
Mujassima, these guys.
Yep.
Like I think
And just for people's translate, like
sure,
there were literalists, there were people who took physical manifestation, there were
Of God.
people of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, there were whole different groups, but their basically belief was based on either taking literal meaning or too much of a philosophical meaning.
right, which
out
is
of
a
things.
doctrinal extremism. And like these things, it's our imams, they didn't just accept them. Like they didn't say, oh yeah, that's okay, we'll agree to disagree on like you want to deny free will, you want to deny God's omnipotence.
Yep. Omnipotence.
So that's okay, we can just agree to disagree. They didn't do that. They intellectually, obviously not with swords, they
Refuted their
refuted
arguments.
these, and it was
Intellectually,
Hadith.
yeah.
over hundreds of years, like, and these are like obsolete now. Like we don't even know about what is that, like Jabariya or Qadariyya anymore. You ask the average Muslim, he doesn't
Qadariyya,
know.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, many ulama wouldn't know.
I mean,
Exactly.
generally speaking,
Right.
though, to your point, we have in a way, right? Like the four madhab, right? The scholarly opinion of the four madhab is there is respect for one another for the preservation of the sunnah of Rasulullah.
But what they agreed on is creed. They all have the same creed.
And that's what I'm trying to say. There is respect in the
Right.
religion.
But when we at some point you can't accept the creed. Like there's a like at some point it's not in the
Creed
middle
divides,
path.
basically. Yeah.
It's no longer in the middle path. It goes to one extreme in some
Mm.
sense, and that's what we have to really be careful of. So now what we see is very secularist Islam, liberalist Islam. Like there's ultra rationalist Islam as well. Like
If it makes sense to me, I'll take it.
yeah,
If it doesn't, I won't take it.
and I think this is
And I think just
Go
just
for
a
it.
counter narrative on that is Eid al-Adha is coming up.
Mhm.
So I get so many, and maybe we'll do a episode on this. I get so many questions. Why would Allah want us to waste food and kill all these goats and lambs? What will it give benefit to Allah?
And that's not their own opinion. That's
No,
like
it's
something
not.
that has been fed from
Yeah,
society, like
Yeah.
Western society. So
I promise you we're not wasting that meat.
like
Someone's eating it.
yeah.
I think colonization has a big part to play, especially in
So back to
Muslim
my
thought
question.
now.
Back to my question. How do you unify Islamic thought?
I think we got to go back to the basics. Just we have to really know.
That is literally, in my opinion, against unifying is by going back to the basics. That means
How?
you're changing everyone's thoughts. Because not everyone approaches it like going back to the basics, right?
Okay, I think when
How
you
you get to
disagree
the
with
basics.
someone, when you disagree, okay, right, exactly.
yeah.
So when you disagree with someone, you don't kill them. You engage in like
I hope no one's
conversation.
killing anyone for disagreeing.
Or
I
beat them
disagree
up.
with you guys so much. And then
But you engage in like
next thing you know, we have a new host.
Well, no, but killing doesn't have to be physical. It could be killing someone's character, which is what we do now.
Right.
on
Disparaging
social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, character assassination.
Yeah. And attacking honor, stuff like that. But we like there's an adab of ikhtilaf, and even if it's invalid ikhtilaf, there's still an adab. Like
100%.
there's a way. Like Imam Abu Hanifa, he was like all these sects that I mentioned, he like
Refuted
a
them.
lot of them. Yeah.
To
So
be fair, like I'm not in any position to do ikhtilaf. Like you got to get to a certain level of understanding
right.
to
defer.
refute an
Yeah.
understanding of something.
Right.
I got Zayd's answer. Ali, you said something very interestingly when the moment I said that question, posed the question. You said you don't expand.
Yeah. Like they're for example, the madhab are a perfect example of that. There is harmony with disharmony in the fact that the actions are not the same, but the belief system is the same.
Can I ask just another pointer on this?
And then you're gonna ask about Shiism or
No.
Okay.
What about the individuals who don't believe in the four madhahib?
Where
Where do you place them?
There is a foundational level, even within them, that they follow a different madhab. They still fall into a category of it that doesn't bring them out of the fold of Islam, right? Which is not believing, not following the. Let's just put a bare bones: the Shahada, Quran, and Sunnah, right? And there is harmony with the disharmony of action. And the disharmony is actually beauty because it's the preservation of the practices of the noble generations.
So basically, and I'm so glad you guys both hit almost the exact same topics. The point is, and what I was trying to get at was your upbringing and your teachings. Basically, what it boiled down to was you guys were saying it's more important to teach them to respect one another than to accept their specific way of doing Islam.
Absolutely.
That's what you guys were getting at.
Yeah.
But it's your upbringing. It's your teachings. It's your ustad that's allowed you the rational mind to be able to come to that conclusion. Whether you've ever said it out loud or not, it's just subconsciously within you.
It's the environment that we grew up in.
Environment.
Right.
You know what? Okay. You want to pray namaz like this? No problem. I'll let you. You know what? Lead my salah.
Yeah.
And you don't have any other issues. But if you go to a specific spot somewhere in the world, you raise hands out of my masjid.
Right.
Still happening today.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to tackle. This is the counter narrative we're trying to say. They're wrong. You know what the biggest problem with what media says, and I often see this. They say, well, it's because your shuyukh and your people don't get onto the media and condemn it. We're condemning it.
Yeah.
You just don't listen.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you look at, if you watch Al-Azhar,
Al-Azhar, which is the leading body.
They're constantly condemning these kind of things.
Minhaj Institute in Pakistan, around the world, 92 countries, condemning terrorism, condemning extremism, condemning suicide bombing, condemning killing. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's Islamic institutions who condemn it. They just don't get the spotlight because it's not an interesting narrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
It isn't. And if they'll get more of a coverage on something that is, this Islamic, jihadist, extremist, Muslim is doing whatever it is.
Yeah.
And my first ever, and I think we should wrap up on the idea that Islam is built upon the idea of hikmah and action and love for one another.
Can we hit on one other thing?
Yeah.
Extremism in the love of Rasulullah. And we'll hit on that.
Let's hit on that.
Yeah.
What I wanted to just bring up is like my first ever moment of like, subhanAllah, this is such a unique difference, but beauty in Islam was when I was in actually Al-Aqsa. And I was praying Salatul Isha at that time. And after they do Jamaat for Witr as well. And they always do Jamaat for Witr because they do Dua in the third rak'ah. Now, their madhab is different to my madhab. I'm a Hanafi, right? And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, they're Shafi'i, right?
Most of them.
Or humbly.
Really?
And their form is usually they do dua after the ruku of the third, which is not how the Hanafi do it. So I was hella confused. This was like my first like Jama'at that wasn't behind a Hanafi Imam.
Ever like in your life?
For Witr.
That I can remember at this scale. Like
Wow.
Masjid Al-Aqsa is packed.
Yeah.
Like it's when you're, and by the way, people get a misconception that there's the Dome of Rock,
No, that's not Masjid
and then
Al-Aqsa.
Masjid Al-Aqsa is actually beside
front
it.
of-
The
in front of
compound
it.
is Al-Aqsa.
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually, yeah, sorry, in front of it.
Yep.
It's a direct view, and then you have it straight to Qibla, and then if you look to the back, then you can see the Dome of Rock. But and subhanAllah, I found beauty in it. The reason why is because I said, like, I am reading in Jama'ah with Muslims that love Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that have
Sallallahu
collective, that have probably one of the communities with the most conviction in Iman alive,
Despite everything going on
despite
around.
everything going on. And I have the opportunity to partake in their version. And I say version very lightly.
Yeah.
Very
It's the
light.
wrong word to
it's the
use.
right.
Yeah.
It's the wrong word to use, and I say it very lightly because at the end of the day, it's an interpretation
Yeah.
of an action or interpretation of a hadith or sunnah, whatever it may be. To just read witr, just do dua. Because at the end of the day, we're both doing dua. Hanafi, we just do it before the ruku. They're doing it after, and theirs is extensive. And then if you go to Masjid al-Nabawi, right? If you do a witr over there, right? They actually leave a spot for you silent
dua.
and do your own dua. Hanafi would never do that, right? And then you're just like, subhanAllah, this is the ummah, right? And if we as tomorrow's ummah can't be tolerant and accepted of the hikmah of Islam, then that's where indoctrination, extremism, these ideologies start to, and alhamdulillah, I don't think we have that issue for the most part. It's just in very isolated communities. I'll ask you actually just that
Before
question.
you just ask him a question, I wanted to say, like, Sheikh Ninawi, he comes to our masajid often.
Very
Yeah.
big scholar.
But one thing he always emphasizes is let the minds clash, but don't let the hearts clash.
MashaAllah.
Right.
MashaAllah. Very, very eloquently spoken.
And so that leaves the question of there's extremism in misinterpretation of violent thought, but there's also extremism. You said what, in the love for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? What does that even mean?
There are people that say that there are other individuals who take the love of Rasulullah to the extreme.
What does that mean?
They cloud the line between Allah and Rasulullah. I can't put it more simply than that.
Can I say the hadith?
Go for it.
Okay, so bismillah. So it's in Bukhari. And Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu an, he says that I heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, "Do not exaggerate in praising me, as the Christians exaggerated in praising the Son of Mary, for I am only his slave. So call me the slave of Allah and his messenger." Okay, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so the hadith that's taken, what's taken from this hadith is do not exaggerate in praising me. We still have the hadith left.
Yeah.
But that's where it ends for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the Prophet ﷺ said, as the Christians have exaggerated in praising the Isa alayhi salam.
Yeah.
So how have they exaggerated? What's their exaggeration? What is it?
Son of God.
The Son of
Exactly.
God.
So
Or
it's,
God.
it's shirk specifically. It's like,
Actually, I think the hadith starts with, "Do not exaggerate my status as the Christians have done with the Son of Mary, Isa alayhi salam."
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Depends on translation, but yeah.
Verily, I am only a servant, so refer to me as the servant of Allah and His Messenger.
Yeah. Right.
SubhanAllah.
So the exaggeration here is that you bring the Prophet to a level of God, right? Which is obviously shirk.
So what
But-
are your thoughts on people that say, Zaid, you love Rasulullah so much that you're committing shirk?
Yeah.
So how would you refute
That's
that?
See, this is an issue.
Those are like exclusive, though.
Exclusive what? What do you mean exclusive?
Like how just because you love something so much, how does that thing become God?
Exactly. It doesn't make
It
sense.
only becomes God if you worship your love,
Exactly. Right.
right? And
It's a different type of love. Our love for the Prophet is he's still a prophet. And he's Allah's beloved, so we love him. And because Allah wants us to love him, we love him.
Okay, Ellie,
So
do you have any
we love him
points?
as a prophet.
like I don't know what there is to add. Like to be, I think I made my point. Like you reaching the pinnacle of love for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is understanding that love also exists as a sunnah, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The salam that is sent.
Exactly.
The salam that is sent by the angels. Right?
There are 7 ayahs in the Quran, and I'll give you one. Surah Tawbah, ayah number 62, where Allah refers to himself and Rasulullah as one. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wallahu wa rasuluhu ahaqqu an yurduhu. Linguistically, he's trying to, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, while it is the pleasure of Allah and his messenger for them, it should be huma. It's a zamir, so it should be huma. But he says who, which means him, but he's referring to both because he said both the subject just initially, Allah and his Rasul ahead. So he's referring to both. Basically, nobody's a Muslim by saying La ilaha illallah. You're a Muslim by also saying
Muhammad Rasulullah.
But there is a boundary, just one, that if you cross, you commit shirk. And that boundary has been outlined by Rasulullah in various, not just that hadith, various hadiths,
Right.
which is, I am a creation, I am abd, but he is the greatest of the abds, and there's only one creator. Shaykh al-Islam, he said a very beautiful, and honestly, I love this line. Wherever the shan, the glory, the majesty of Rasulullah ends, the majesty of Allah begins.
SubhanAllah.
That's the only line there.
SubhanAllah.
So, and you can only go extreme for the love of someone where you understand the boundary. No one understands that boundary, so you can never go extreme in love of Rasulullah.
That's exactly what Imam Busiri says.
Imam Busiri says that as well.
I'll say his.
Go for it.
I'll say
You
it
have it?
in
You have it?
English. I'll say it in
Yeah,
English.
Go say it.
I can say it in Arabic too.
No, say it in English.
He says, abandon what the Christians have claimed about their prophet. Beyond that, you may say whatever you wish in praise of him. You may ascribe whatever you
This
wish
is a couplet
of
of
nobility.
poetry, by the way, for those listening.
Do you want me to say it in Arabic?
No, say it, because they're not going to understand.
Right.
Most of them won't understand.
You may ascribe whatever you wish of nobility to his essence, and to his rank whatever you wish of greatness. Indeed, the high merit of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ has no furthest limit which could be expressed by the tongue of a human being.
SubhanAllah.
Who could really express it? Allah can express it.
And Allah has the entire Quran is a narrative of loving Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. So I think this one point, there is no extremism in the love of Rasulullah as long as you remain within that boundary, understanding he is the creation of Allah. He is a slave of Allah.
Yep.
As long as that boundary is clear. Another point I do want to make here, and this is a very big ikhtilafi moment. Many people have an issue with this. However, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our aqidah is he can give to whomever he wishes, but by the command of Allah. But by the
permission of
command, permission. Allah has given him the ikhtiyar to give. That ikhtiyar was Allah's to give, not Rasulullah's to take. But because he is the Habib of Allah, Allah gave it to him, and he has the ikhtiyar, he has the permission to grant to whoever. So when we ask of Rasulullah, and I don't want to get into this because there's a whole other podcast that we could do with, intermediation and tawassul and all of that, shifa and all of that. But inshallah, maybe we will ever hit on this podcast. But whatever Rasulullah gives is by the permission of Allah. And when we ask of Rasulullah, we're asking of Allah to give. Rasulullah can never provide if it's just him, but it's by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's why the Prophet says in a hadith, he says he is Qasim, the distributor.
Very good. Yes.
SubhanAllah. I think we literally hit both extremes of extremism, of violence, terrorism, things that have no foundation in Islam. And
can you repeat that and just make it a label?
There is no foundation, there is no premise in Islam for extremism, for violence.
And it's against Islam.
Point blank, period. And on the other spectrum,
I just don't want anybody to take something out of context from this podcast, so I just want to really hit home this point.
Yeah.
And for those who attribute divinity to Rasulullah on the other side of the spectrum, there is no premise for that, except that Rasulullah is the final messenger and the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the most beloved, the most noble, the most beloved, and the best of character and the best
And-
of everything.
And we don't understand his
creation.
maqam. There's no way any human can understand his maqam.
And that's the both extremes. Islam is a religion built with so much hikmah that we are still learning it, and we will learn it till the end of times. May we all be given the strength to continue to learn, to continue to understand
Ameen.
with balance, and remove ignorance in our lives, so that we may continue to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His noble messenger Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thank you so much for tuning in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.